Hello, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the BlueBRIDGE webinar, Managing Tuna Fisheries Data at a Global Scale, the Tuna Atlas VRE. I am Sara Garavelli, and I'm the Outreach Manager for BlueBRIDGE, which is an Horizon 2020 project started a couple of years ago. The main purpose of the project is to support Blue growth practitioners in addressing Blue-related data management challenges. In particular, BlueBRIDGE has developed a set of data management services, what we call virtual research environments, or VREs, and today this webinar covers the presentation of one of them, the Tuna Atlas VRE. I'll stop there, as I'm sure that our speaker of today will give you all the necessary information. I just want to inform you that if you have any questions, you can post them in the chat through the question functional button of GoToWebinar, and we will go through them at the end of the presentation. So now I'm pleased to introduce you our speaker, Paul Taconnet, from the French National Research Institute for Sustainable Development, IRD, that you can see in the camera. Paul is a geomatics engineer, and before joining IRD, he has worked in the Nature Reserve of the French Southern Lands as a database and GIS expert. So now, Paul, I leave the floor to you. Please go with your presentation.
Thank you, Sarah. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're listening to me. It's quite weird because I can't see you and I can't hear you, but anyway, we'll do it this way. So as Sarah was telling you, I'm here for this webinar to present you the project we have been working on, which is the Tuna Atlas Virtual Research Environment. So it's a project we are doing with many partners involving IRD, so my company, but also FAO, the CNR, and BlueBRIDGE partners. What will be the plan of my presentation? First, I will present the why of the project. So the rationale of the project, why we are doing all this stuff. So I will talk a bit about the context of tuna fisheries and data. Then I will present the what we have done, basically, the tools and the data that are available on the VRE. So I will present the tools of the VRE, and then I will present the how. That is how we set up all these tools and how we can update these tools. So as an introduction, and before going into the details of the project, a bit of contextualization. Why we are doing this stuff, why we are studying tuna fisheries and data. Well, first here I put some image of tuna fisheries. And it's a very hot and a very up-to-date topic, tuna. Why? First thing, because as you see in the plots on the left, it's a big fishery and it's growing. Here you see the trends of the catches of tuna at a global scale. So since the start of the fisheries in the 90s, so you see that it's growing a lot. It's 8% today of the worldwide fisheries, and it's 85 countries fishing tuna. It's a very also industrial fishery, as you can see on the screen. This is a boat that fish tuna, so it's very huge boat that can fish several tens of tons of tuna in only one set. Of course, I won't teach you anything. It's very controversial. You have a lot of NGOs, basically, that are doing campaigns on overfishing, tuna overfishing, etc., like Greenpeace. And last point, it's global, and as you know, everything that is global today is very trendy. Say very up to date. About this global stuff, actually, who does manage tuna fisheries? Tuna fisheries are managed regionally. So they are managed by these regional fisheries management organizations. So basically, it's organizations that that integrate all the countries that fish in their area of competences. So you have 5 tuna RFMOs worldwide, and each of these RFMO, their main role is to maintain the tuna stock on their area of competence. How do they do this? Well, this is a very simplified workflow, but basically you have the countries that are fishing and that collect data. So each country has to collect data. When the data is collected, the tuna RFMO collect them. So they gather all the data from the various countries. Then you have scientists. Their role is to provide scientific advice from these data. Sorry, and this analysis will enable conservation of the fish stocks. Now, as I was telling, this is very simplified workflow because, of course, you have many other partners and other people going in the field. You have politics, you have fishermen, you have industry, etc. But the aim of this slide is to show that conservation of fish stock is made possible by data. I mean, yeah. Now, so as I was telling, first stuff is the data. So you have data on catches, on efforts, etc., etc. Many data are collected. Then you have, from this data, you extract statistics and indicators to interpret trends. From these statistics, you extract the knowledge. So the knowledge is the stock status. And at the end of the pyramid, at the top, you get the wisdom, which is sustainable tuna stocks and fisheries. So the data is, let's say, one of the bases of a good and of sustainable tuna stocks and fisheries. Now, if you look at this pyramid, the quality of each block depends on the quality of the previous one. It might be quite obvious what I'm saying, but the better the data, the better the information, and the better the information, the better the knowledge, etc., etc. So based on this, what is a good data? What is a data, let's say, good quality data? The quality of the data is improved when the data has all these parameters. So first, it's open. When a data is open, anyone can use it, and anyone can point out issues on the data. So the data is improved. It might also be easy to locate. Good data should be easy to find, should be well described. That is, it comes with information on metadata, description, rights, etc. Easy to use, available in various formats, etc. Transparent, that is, anyone can understand the processes that have been applied to generate the data. The data should be reproducible. Anyone can reproduce the processes and modify them if they want, and it should be interoperable. That is, if you come with the data from another organization, but that means the same stuff, you should be able to easily cross those data. Back to the tuna RFMO stuff. How are the tuna RFMO data? Well, first important point is that they are open, and maybe this is the trickiest point because it's the more political, I would say, to open the data. So the data are open. Many tuna RFMOs data, so data on catches, etc., are open. But for the other points, it's not all red, let's say, but here it's where it is a bit more complicated for the tuna RFMOs data. They are not that easy to locate. I mean, you have to go through the websites to find them. They are described, but not always in the, let's say, in the right standard. They are more or less easy to use. Sometimes it's a bit tricky because the code lists are not available. The geo information, because it's a lot of geo reference data, is not always easy to use, etc. It's not very transparent, reproducible, and it's not interoperable. That means the same data, but that come from various RFMO will not be crossable very easily, because there are many formats, many different code lists, different structures, etc. So now we come to the objectives of the project based on all this, on all what I have said. What are the objectives? First is to build a global data sets on tuna fisheries, to be able to get global statistics on tuna fisheries, to be able to compare the fisheries between oceans, etc. Second is to set up online services to efficiently discover, access, process, and visualize the data, and to gather all these services within one single environment or one single website. And third is basically to cope with the issues that are today the ones of the tuna RFMOs. That is, make all the data that we have collated or generated open, easy to locate, etc., etc. What we expect from this is that, of course, the information on tuna fisheries is easily available to all the communities of users, to scientists, general public, NGOs, policymakers, etc. And at the end of the chain, better management of tuna stocks. Knowing, of course, that there are also, as I was telling, political issues, etc. But this is for the data part. So now I jump 2 years of work, and I will show you what we have done. So what is available, basically? What are the data and the tools available? So what we have done, we have set up this Tuna Atlas virtual research environment, where you have multiple data sets on tuna fisheries with associated data. You have one database that stores all the data and the metadata. You have one metadata catalog to discover and access the data, a web viewer to discover, visualize, and access the data, and a set of R codes, basically to reproduce all the work and to process the data. So I will show you basically one by one all these tools so that you can see them and see what basically how to use them. Before showing the tools, I'm gonna talk to you a bit about the data sets that are available. What are the data sets? We have first collated the public domain data sets from the 5 tuna RFMOs as they deliver them. So we have basically data on catches of tuna and on efforts, fishing efforts. So basically the number of days that a boat spent on sea, or the number of hooks, or the number of sets, etc. From these data sets, we have created global data sets on tuna fisheries. So we have merged basically those data sets. We have applied some scientific corrections, and we have derived global data sets on tuna fisheries. To show you how the data sets look like, basically it's this. So as you see on this map, each of the quadrants, in each of the quadrant there is a catch or an effort associated, and you also have the information on the country that have fished, on the species that is fished, on the months, on the year, because it's monthly catch, and various other information. So basically, you know, for example, in May 2010 how much France has fished of yellowfin tuna, I would say, for example. So that's it. And you also have the code lists used in these datasets by the tuna RFMOs. And that's it. And you have a lot of metadata associated to this data. So you have, for each dataset, you have a lot of descriptions, a lot of contacts, a lot of stuff. What's important to understand now is that all of this data is still not validated, let's say, by the source. This is a work we still have to do. We have to basically to validate the metadata and the data by the Tuna RFMOs. So that was very quickly the data. If you want more information on all the data, you can click on the link that is at the bottom of the presentation, of the slide, sorry. And here you find a document that explains a lot what are the data available. Maybe what I have not said is that it's global data, it's worldwide geographically, and it starts at the beginning of the fishery, that is in the 90s or even before for some oceans. So you have all the data that are stratified by months and by geographical quadrants of 1 degree or 5 degree. And from the 50s. So it's long time series. Now all this data, where are they stored? Well, we have primarily stored them on a PostgreSQL and PostGIS database. And we have also stored them on a CSV folder. Problem with that, okay, it's a good start because they are somewhere. The database is open, the folder also. But what if I'm not a PostgreSQL user? What if I don't know SQL? Or what if I go to the folder? Here I can show you. This is the folder, and you see we have like 200 data sets, and it's quite impossible to understand what do they mean. You know, like here you can download them as CSV, but you don't know what they represent basically. So this is why we have set up additional tools to better discover this data and to better understand actually what are the data. We have two main, we have two tools that I represent you now, a catalog, a metadata catalog, and an online viewer. About the catalog, this is the catalog that I can show you in very quickly. So this is the VRE actually. So if you register, you will find this page. And if you go on data catalog, GeoNetwork catalog, you get to the catalog. And here you see that we have all those data. So all the data I was showing you in the folder before are there, and you see that it's much more easy to find them because basically you can filter, you can do a lot of stuff. For example, if I want global here global cache, I type in global, and I get the data sets that are associated to my research. You have a lot of filters, and you have a lot of ways to filter the data. If I click on the data, here I will have all the metadata associated, so description, metadata, and here's some links where you can download the data in several formats, including CSV. You can also access them through protocols. For the people that know it, OGC protocols like WMS, WFS, etc. So basically, it's a way to access the data, let's say, more easily than on the CSV folder. Now, this is one of the ways to access data. Another way is to go through the prototype viewer that has been developed by FAO in the project. And basically, it does, so if you go on the VRE, you go on Visualize Data Map Viewer. And here you have the prototype viewer, where you also have access on the Bruce panel here to all the data sets here. So it's the same data sets, it's the same catalog. And you can, for example, I want to show, I'm looking for my data set, I find it, I select it, and then I can query it. So here I come here and I say, for example, I want the catch for Spain between 2005 and 2016. And then I can query it, and here I see the I see the data. I can also download, wait, sorry. Where is my panel? I can also download the data as CSV file from here. If I find my, I don't find it. Anyway, I can also download the data from this portal. So those are two tools to, let's say, to discover and to access the data. A third way, if you're an R user, we have developed this R library, this R package that enable the same stuff, let's say, but in R. That is, in R you can you have functions on this package to discover the data, to access them as data frame, as an R data frame. A lot of functions to process them and few functions to visualize them. So it's just another way for you to easily access the data that is stored on the database. Another tool that is interesting for you, that could be of interest, is the tool to create your own data set of catch. So as I was telling you before, we have created those global data sets of tuna fisheries. Okay, but we have made some scientific assumptions to create those data sets. Now, what if you don't agree with this assumption? What if, for example, we have used conversion factors? What if you don't like? What if you have your own conversion factors and you want to generate your own data set using your conversion factors? Well, through this script, you can do it. So we have an R script to do this, and we have put on top of this R script this form that is also available on the VRE. If I go on the VRE, if I go on the data miner, so here basically you have a lot of input parameters, and you can really set up your own parameterization to create your own data sets of global catch. I will not go through all the parameters, of course, that are available, but you might have a look, and you might also try if you want the script. Next step is output of this script will be a data set, your data set of global catch. And next step is to be able to make you able basically to share your data set to the community. That is to take advantage of the catalog, of the viewer, of everything I was showing you before, to share your data set of your Tuna Atlas. So this will come. It's not available now, but it's expected. Okay, this is just a summary of the tools that are available and what they do. So that's it. And now we go to the last part of the presentation, that is how we have set up all this work. Mainly there are two blocks, which are first the data collation and harmonization parts at the left of the screen, and second part is the web publication. What I will talk about is the first part, that is the data collation and harmonization and import. I will not talk about the web publication because it could be another webinar on its own. It's quite complicated. So I will focus now on what basically I personally have done on this project, which is the data collation and harmonization section. So what have we done? As I was telling you, we have collated the data from the 5 Tuna RFMOs. So it was a manual collation. That is, we have been on each website of the Tuna RFMO. We have looked for the data. We have downloaded them, downloaded the metadata eventually. For some data, we had to actually contact the RFMO because they were not available on the format we wanted. So this was the first section, and it was quite long actually. It takes a long time, as I was telling you, to understand where the data is. Once we had find all the data, we have stored them on a single folder. So on the format that was available, there is some data were in CSV format, some other were in Excel, some were in Access, some were in DBF, etc. A lot of different formats and a lot of different structures. But we have put all the data into one single folder, and we have filled in some CSV of metadata. Then we have written some R scripts that transform the structure of the data. So basically, what we wanted is to bring all these different data to one single structure, yeah. And so for this, we have written a lot of R scripts that you can find are available online. And so at the end of this flow, you have all the data that are bring to only one structure. Then we have developed the database, the database model, and we have loaded all the data into the database. So for this, we also have written some R scripts. So you have R script that basically loads the data that is correctly structured within the database. Sorry. And last step, when we had all the primary Tuna RFMOS data on the database, well, we have written an R script also that basically that's the R script I was explaining you before. So the script that enables to create global datasets of tuna fisheries. So this is mainly this is the workflow. It makes it easy, but it's not that easy because you have a lot of various R scripts that enable to do a lot of stuff in this flow. Now, last thing is we have set up this database for 2017. Now, as long as there will be fishes in the sea, there will be fisheries, so there will be data, and so we will need to update this Tuna Atlas. Because every year there will be new data. So how do we update this Tuna Atlas? Well, basically, if we look back at the workflow, what we have done is that we have packaged every script I was explaining you before. We have packaged it within a single R workflow. That is basically with this workflow. You just set up a few parameters. Of course, when you have collated the source data, which is still manual, it's still a hand process. But when you have found this data, well, at the end you just put some parameters and you click and you get all the script that is all the workflow that is processed, and you get your Tuna Atlas updated for the year you are for this year. That's it. Just the last slide is the link to register to the Tuna Atlas VRE. So if you click on the link and you register, you will get access to basically to the data and to the services I was showing you before. And that's it. Thanks for your attention, and I leave the floor for any question.
Thank you very much, Paul, for the very interesting presentation. So now I ask all the participants if they have any questions to post them. In the meantime, if you want to add any remarks or
well, remarks would come from the from the floor. Okay.
So without a question.
No. Once again, okay. Just one remark. I have said them on the. I have said this on the presentation, but I repeat it. The data are still not let's say validated. That is, there are a huge amount of data sets, but we still have to validate them by the Tuna RFMOs. This is very important because basically we use their data as they distribute them, of course, but it's not available. It's not through their websites. So we really need before the people really use the data on publication on whatever, we need to work with the Tuna RFMOs to validate the work so that they say, okay, you can disseminate our data from your system. So that's it. This is a remark. I have explained this on the presentation, but I really want to insist of this because it's still not let's say validated.
Okay, and we do have a question quite related to that, which says, what are the different kinds of corrections which have to be applied to the RFMO data, and why is it important to have these corrections?
Okay, so I can explain if the person that have asked wants more detail. There was on the slide that present the data a paper that provides the correction. But let me give you an example. For example, you have a lot of data that are coming in. You have some data that are coming in weight of fish, so number of kilos or number of tons, and you have some data that are coming in a number of fishes. So now, of course, you cannot sum those two units. So if you want to have a global overview, well, you will need to transform this. You will need. Sorry, I just have to. I see that I don't have any more battery. Okay, you will need to convert this data that are expressed in number. So this is one of the and for this you need to have some factors of conversions. So for example, this is one example of the correction that we make, so as to have a, let's say, a more pertinent view. But what I want to add on this is that we have on our data sets, we have several levels of corrections. So the global data set, we have three levels of corrections. And at the first level, for example, we don't do these corrections. So let's say the user might use one or the other depending on the level of correction he wants. So okay. I hope it answered to the question.
Well, we'll see. If not, I guess we will receive another one.
Sure.
We do have another question. What are the implications of still needing to validate the data? And are the results or visualizations likely to change after validation? Or is the Tuna Atlas ready to be used now?
So no, there won't be implication on the values, let's say, on the data set, on the value. There won't be changes. The only thing for the validation stuff is that, I mean, if someone cites the data, it will used through our work. It will not be the data that was downloaded on the RFMO website. So that's the problem. You know, RFMO don't want us to steal their data and their job, which is totally comprehensible. But in terms of values of data, I mean, there won't be changes. No.
Okay. I don't think we have any other question. Okay, just thank you to you for your answers.
Well, thank you.
Oh, there is another one actually that just came in that says, could we reuse the same approach to set up a similar atlas for other species and RFMOs, and would it be complicated?
Actually not. The answer is to the first question is yes. It's possible to reuse the tools because it's very generic. I mean, at the end, well, the aim is to have a data set with columns and a value associated to this column. So you have a column of country, a column of species, a column of etc., and then at the end a value which is associated. So the approach is very, very generic. I mean, this is for tuna, but we could reuse it we could reuse it for other fisheries totally. And the second question, is it difficult? Well, we are really working to make it not difficult. but the aim is really this. This is a showcase, tuna fisheries, which is very interesting, as I was telling at the beginning of the presentation, because it's a huge fishery with a lot of issues. But all the approach could be reused for other fisheries. The tools are generic. The tools are not specific to tuna. They could be reused in other contexts. Yeah.
Okay. We have a question. Do you have plans to present these to the RFMO stock assessment methods groups or scientific committees? And Grantley Gallant said that this could be used to help RFMOs to do their work.
So we actually, maybe I didn't speak a lot about this, but we have really worked with the RFMOs for this work. That is, the project has started 2 years ago, and since the beginning we have traveled to RFMOs, actually to 3 of the 5 RFMOs we have been, and we have presented our project. And RFMOs are really collaborating. They are providing us with data or with code lists. So they know this work. Of course, they are implicated, and we actually have presented this work to ICAT scientific committee, but also to IOTC working group on data. So it has been presented, and of course we would like now that it's at this point of development, which is quite good, we would like to go and to present the advances, and we would like maybe they could actually reuse these tools directly with their own data. This would be very nice, but this is what we will try to do. But the answer is yes. We present the work. We would like to continue presenting the work. Actually, there will be also a seminar in FAO in March with all the tuna RFMOs data manager, where we will surely present the work. So we are implicating the RFMOs, and that's it.
Okay, then we have 2 more technical questions. And one person asks, can I have a viewer in my own website and also other visualizations, for example, graphs or tables?
Okay. Okay, this is a bit more, more technical. Maybe I'm not the best person to answer this, but the aim is yes, to be able at the end to export this to other websites, to partners' websites, for the viewer, for example. Now, this question, the FAO consultant that has worked on this would be more able to me to answer, but I think that yes. And what was the second question? Sorry.
It was related to the visualization tool.
Yeah, the plots and okay. So this is part of the future developments of the application. Hopefully, if there is time and if there is money for this, but we hope. I mean, the FAO consultant Emmanuel hopes to be able to work on the viewer to bring more visualization tool, actually more time plots and other visualization tool. But once again, the project, the BlueBRIDGE project, is over in 1 month. So then we need to find money to do this kind of things.
Yeah. Anyway, I encourage everyone which is online that wants more information to send us an email or to contact us, and we can provide more detail. We have another question. How often are you planning to update the database? RFMOs publish their data different times of year.
Yeah, once a year, basically. Like it's true that they publish the data at different dates, but basically, mainly there's one data. I mean, data are updated more or less once a year by RFMOs, and we will do the same. So it will be once a year, and on those dates, that is on February, March, I guess, and that's it. So now we still have to set up a lot of things, like who will do, for example, the updates. Will it be FAO? Will it be IRD? Will it be another partner? This still has to be set up in a data management plan that is not set up actually right now. But the aim really is to update it once a year, and let's say at the first quarter of the year.
Related to the uptake plans, there is a question that asks, do you recommend to FAO to use this Tuna Atlas with different or same conversion factors or corrections?
Well, of course I would. no, I do recommend in the sense that with the R code, I mean with the script that I was showing that enable to create your own Tuna Atlas, basically you really can parameterize your Tuna Atlas. So you start from the data really as they are distributed by the RFMOs, and then you combine them basically as you want. You parameterize your stuff. So I have worked actually with FAO, of course, and I have checked how their Tuna Atlas was, and I know that it could be the Tuna Atlas could be, the FAO Tuna Atlas could be updated through this code, because basically FAO doesn't use conversion factors. So that's it. So the FAO Tuna Atlas could be actually, it could be updated through this script.
Okay, then there is need for a clarification with regards to the validation.
Yeah.
Referring to the validation, do you mean that you need validation from the RFMOs that the data the VRE provides is accurate? Do you mean that or not?
I mean, I don't know. It's quite political stuff, but what we need to have from TRFMOs is, yes, of course, validation that the data is accurate. But they can, I mean, yeah, they can look at the script that we have written, and they will see that if they do the exercise, that it's really the same data. Their data. It's just their data. It's nothing more than their data. What we also need is validation of metadata. We have put a lot of metadata, of description, of contacts. It's many metadata without, let's say, asking them to put their names. So basically, we have put some contacts, which are the RFMO, the data manager, but we don't have. They didn't allow us, I would say, to write their names. So it's kind of weird. I mean, it's like someone puts your name here, but doesn't ask you if you can do it. So So I would say that what we need is really to work with them, and we are doing this actually with IOTC now, because we have very good relationships. Really so that they say, okay, we allow you to disseminate our data, and anyone can download them, can cite them, etc. So it's really it's not an easy part, because it's kind of political, but it must be done so that anyone can use the data without any problems, let's say.
Okay, I think we have just one last question. Is it possible to get FAD information?
On what? On everything?
I don't know. I think
Yeah,
because
I mean,
specified, yeah.
it's possible. So first way to get information is to go on the VRE. So to register, you have some descriptions. You have here, if you can see my screen, you click on the link and you can register to the VRE. You can find information there. And then I would say the second option is to contact us. So
Yeah, no, I think the question was related to the fact if it's possible to get information on trends
sorry.
in the VRE.
On trends of what?
I don't know. I ask
I don't.
Carl Michael to specify better the question, if it's possible. Or anyway, to send us an email, and we will clarify
Sure.
about that.
So if it's to have more information on the project in general, well, the better is to send an email, and we will be pleased to.
Wait a second. Is asking searching on RFMO the FADS data. Okay,
so okay, not sure about the question, but there are information on FAD on this data. That is, you have stratification on FAD, on fisheries on FAD and non-FAD. I will go on the first slide of my presentation, and you will see here you see the plot here at the right is actually the catches, the trend of catches by fishing mode, so FAD and non-FAD. So this to say that the data is stratified by catches on FAD or non-FAD. So the information is available on the datasets. So if that was the question, the answer is yes. You have information on fisheries on FAD or free objects. Sorry, on floating object or free swimming objects in the data.
Okay, I think that was the question, and you answered, because Carmichael says okay.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, Paul, I would like to thank you a lot for this presentation and for having answered all the questions. I would like to thank all the participants and remind them that the recording of the webinar will be available since tomorrow, together with the slides presented. As Paul said, you can access the VRE through the BlueBRIDGE gateway and register, try it out. And I also would like to inform you that next week we have another webinar, next Thursday on the 25th, on the global record of stock and fisheries. And so if you would like to join as well next week, we will welcome you. Thanks a lot, Paul.
Thank you.
I wish everybody a nice evening.
Thank
Goodbye.
You. Bye. Je sais pas comment faire.